What do you think meiosis is?
I would say it has something to do with genetics, but I'm not quite sure.
All of our genetic information is packaged into chromosomes, which are made up of two identical sister chromatids. Meiosis is the process to halve the amount of chromosomes in sexually reproducing cells to produce 4 haploid daughter cells. These cells are then capable for sexual reproduction. It is essential that this process occurs correctly for normal development. This is what meiosis looks like in a cell.
First, chromatids replicate themselves, and in the part of meiosis, they line up along the center with their newly formed partner and separate into 2 cells. During the second part of meiosis, the chromosomes separate into different cells without copying their genetic information, halving the amount going into each cell. This leaves us with 4 normal daughter cells that are haploid, 1 sister chromatid each.
What do you think non-disjunction is?
I have no idea, honestly, but it doesn't sound good. Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you.
Non-disjunction is the failure for chromosomes to separate properly during meiosis. This can happen at 2 different times, either the first or second part of meiosis. Non-disjunction at either point can lead to developmental problems and diseases. Here's an example of non-disjunction, the first part of meiosis. Instead of the chromosomes separating evenly, one cell gets 3 and the other gets 1. Therefore, the daughter cells do not receive the correct number of chromatids. This results in 2 gametes having an extra chromatid, called trisomy, and 2 gametes lacking a chromatid, called a monosomy. There can also be non-disjunction in meiosis too. The first division goes as planned, but at the second separation of chromatids, the number of chromatids going into the cells is skewed, and 2 daughter cells receive the incorrect number of chromosomes. In humans, non-disjunction can cause some pretty big problems. Turner syndrome is a case resulting from a monosomic non-disjunction occurring in the X chromosome, having several implications in sexuality and fertility. Another syndrome resulting from non-disjunction is Down syndrome, also known as trisomy 21. Down syndrome affects 1 in 700 children and has varying severity in phenotypic traits, heart and respiratory defects, infertility, mental impairment, and more. Current research on Down syndrome is attempting to silence the additional genes contained in the extra chromosome, potentially alleviating symptoms.
Now that we've explained these 2 phenomena to you, what do you think meiosis and non-disjunction are?
So, meiosis is a division of sexually reproducing cells, and non-disjunction is an abnormal division of meiosis resulting in the wrong amount of genetic information.
Thank you. Good job.
Thanks, I learned a ton.